We're going to get started. I know there's some parking issues, so people will be kind of straggling in, but we have a packed agenda today, as most of you know, so we're going to be get this going. I do want to ask if you're a presenter to kind of sit closer to the front. You don't have to sit right in front, but just because we're going to be quickly transitioning. And also for presenters, just so you know, we are timing you. So there's a timer sitting here who's going to let you know. And if you see me stand up, that means it's over. So thank you all. And for those online and for all of us in the audience here, we will, NISTIA, our partner, New York State Tourism Industry Association, will be sending out recording of this session and link to all of the presentations, so you'll have a record and you can refer back. Just for all of you online and for everybody here, my name is Devin Lander. I'm the New York State historian. I welcome you to the Office of Cultural Education building, which houses the New York State Museum, the New York State Archives, and the New York State Library. So this is the center I say the center of history, but of course we have history spread around the state. As you can see, we have coffee and carbs, as Bob says, available, so please help yourself. Don't feel bad about having to get up and move around. Restrooms are through the lobby if anyone needs those. I just want to say, too, this event and the last two events that we had, this is the third one of these, I think, that we've done. The fourth one of these, Bob is reminding me. None of this would happen without Bob Provost and his team at the New York State Tourism Industry Association. So thank you, Bob. And this specific event would not happen, at least the coffee and carbs part of it, without our friends at Brookfield Energy. And I'm going to invite Mark Luciano up to say a few words from Brookfield. And just so you know, Mark and I have known each other for 30 years this year.
30, wow, that's great. Makes me feel really young. Well, appreciate being here. As Devin said, here on behalf of Brookfield Renewable North America. We do a lot of hydropower in upstate New York. different parts of the country, in different regions. We do other renewables like wind and solar. But in upstate New York, we are big time into hydro. We have 74 facilities upstate. And what people don't recognize is that our property isn't just powerhouses and dams. There's a giant footprint around each one. By virtue of our licensure with FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, we have to keep most of our property open to the public unless there's a public safety issue around some of where our production is. And because of that, we have about 28,000 acres in upstate New York. We've got trails, hiking, biking, we do canoeing, kayaking. We've got a lot of fishing industries. So we are a rec provider. We are a tourism sustainer, and I started doing this. I do public relations, stakeholder relations for all of Brookfield in New York and Minnesota. One of my first calls was to Bob at Nistia. I said, we have a common enterprise that most people don't know about. How can you help us be a sounding board? And so we've been working for the last 4 years. That's how long I've been with Brookfield, and we're going to continue to do that. The 250th is something we've been sponsoring. We're going to be doing a couple other things to help sustain some of the events that are going on for the next year and a half. Happy to provide the coffee and donuts, and I hope everybody enjoys. Fortunately, I have to go back up to my office in Queensbury, but appreciate everybody being here. I know it's going to be left in good hands with Devin and Bob and the team, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. I should say for the presenters as well, you can advance your slides with this device. We also have a keyboard, so you can use the arrows if you wish, whatever's easiest for you. Next up, I would like to introduce Jennifer Saunders, who is the New York State Museum Director, still new, has been here for a few months, and I will say as a staff person here at the museum, she has brought us a renewed energy, vision, and competency that is really been great for us. And there's big things on the horizon for the State Museum. And I just want to bring Jennifer Saunders to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. I just wanted to very quickly welcome everyone to the museum. And thank you for all the great work that you're doing. It is, I don't know about you, but I love being in a room filled with folks who care about history and heritage and parks and, all of the things that we devote our lives to. It's always affirming. And so I hope you have a great conversation today. It seems like by necessity, this commemoration has had to be led at the state and local level. And that has meant that the work that you're doing is increasing, ever more important to bring this commemoration about. So thank you for doing that. And as well, I just want to say when you're done, check out our new gift shop. We are having the grand opening of our new cafe upstairs. So if you need something a little bit stronger or fancier, you should check out the cafe on 2. Please, if you have a moment at the end of the meeting, check out some of the great exhibits and things that we have going on here at the museum. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Devin.
Thank you, Jennifer. I also should have said before, if there are questions we're asked, because we're such a tight schedule, we have so many presentations, and the idea of this is to share ideas and what's working and what has worked related to 250th commemoration at the local and regional level. So if you do have questions, we will be sharing everyone's contact that is a presenter. So please feel free to follow up with them after the meeting. But because of our time constraints, we are going to hold questions until then. Next, I would like to bring our partners from New York State Parks to the table. So those of you that have been doing 250th stuff for a while or engaging with the 250th Commission know that it's co-chaired by the State Education Department, which oversees the museum, archives, and library here, as well as New York State Parks, which oversees our SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office, and our state historic sites. State Parks has been a huge partner on this since the very beginning, really since 2018 when we first started conversations at the state level about the commemoration and what it should look like. Those conversations were with our fellow agency, State Parks. So I'd like to bring up Daniel McKay, who is the Deputy Commissioner for Historic Preservation for New York State Parks. Thank you.
Good morning. So nice to see folks here who have braved the weather, braved the parking. Thank you for being here, and for those online. I serve as Deputy Commissioner for Historic Preservation at New York State Parks and oversee the work of the Division for Historic Preservation, which serves multiple roles, including within it the Bureau of Historic Sites, but also all of the New York State's responsibilities under federal and state historic preservation law. And I am ably accompanied in that work by Dan McEnany, who's here in the audience. He's the Director of the Division for Historic Preservation. And we are a success because we are a team. And thank you, Dan, for all you contribute to this RevWar agenda and many points beyond. I have been asked to step into the role of being a public point of contact for New York State Parks for the Rev 250. You will find my contact information on the Rev 250 website maintained by the State Education Department. And I joined Devin there. Devin, our hero, our advance guard, who's been so engaged in planning since 2018. And so happy to step into that public point of contact role. So I will introduce to you the Acting Commissioner of New York State Parks, Kathy Mosier. She was named to this position just 5 months ago. She has embraced the role and responsibility quite ably. She has arrived at New York State Parks after a diverse career at the international, national, and state levels. Peace Corps, World Wildlife Fund, Open Space Institute, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Kathy brings an extraordinary width and breadth of experience and expertise to the role of Commissioner of New York State Parks. And I think more than anything, what the first 5 months serving on her staff have shown me is her deep curiosity. And I think she is deeply curious about the historic preservation functions of the agency and quite interested in leading the agency and leading the commission to secure an impactful and effective commemoration across the 8-year period of commemoration in New York for the New York State 250th Commission. So please welcome our Acting Commissioner, New York State Parks, Kathy Mosier.
Morning, everybody. As Daniel said, this is my 5th month on the job, and you were very gracious, Daniel, because I ask a ton of questions. And everybody's like, I forget I've never been a commissioner before, and it's acting because I have to be confirmed by the State Senate, hopefully before they leave at the end of session on June 4th. But I do ask a lot of questions, and as commissioner, everybody gets really worried. It's like, no, I go down rabbit holes. And the rabbit holes I've been going down in it's been so much fun to step in this job and learn so much about New York and our parks and our history. And so it's really a pleasure to be here with you. And as both Devin and Daniel mentioned, I co-chair the 250th Commemorative Commission with State Education Commissioner Betty Rosa. New York is doing so much for the 250th, and I think we're here today to ask for your help to elevate all the events, all the sites, all the things that people could be doing, all the things that tourists, both in New York and out of the state, can come and do here. So I did, let's see if I did it. Yes, I'm the guinea pig that figured out how it works. So just quickly, I want to talk a little bit. The governor released her budget, and it's really great news for the state of New York. Our revenue keeps going up. I went to my first cabinet meeting, and I had no idea how tied New York State's revenue is to Wall Street. So when Wall Street and the stock market goes up, we get a lot more revenue, and Wall Street keeps going up. So we're still against a federal funding cut, but we had enough revenue that, for example, like the healthcare hole of $11 billion that the federal government is not transferring to New York, our state was able to fund that hole. But more important to our discussion today is Governor Hochul and her budget, and I only saw the budget the day before it was released, usually we get about $200 million in capital to keep our system going. New York has the oldest system in the country, with Niagara Falls being the first park, the second largest system in the country, and the most developed. We have 250 parks and historic sites. We usually get $200 million to maintain that system. And this year, Governor Hochul gave us an extra $140 million, which is amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Governor Hochul. And part of that money will go to historic sites. We have a $30 million dedicated to the complete renovation of the John Jay House in Katonah. We're continuing to repair and stabilize Old Fort Niagara. Our whole history campaign in Phillips Manor in Yonkers is an example of what we want to do at other state historic sites. We're really excited that this May we're going to reopen the New York State Senate House State Historic Site in Kingston. So come join us at that opening in May. And we're also renovating the Hasbrook House at Washington headquarters. So this year, 20 of these sites are getting the love and care they deserve for the 250th anniversary. And the other thing that Governor Hochul talks a lot about that connects with tourism as well is she's constantly saying, get offline, get outside. She's linking our parks to physical and mental health. She's encouraging people to unplug and play. And so she's investing in state parks and historic sites, which, it's such an amazing system, and we need your help to get the word out there. So what is specifically is New York State Parks and Historic Sites doing on the 250th? Last year in the final budget, there was $5 million allocated for the 250th, half of that going to New York State Parks and Historic Sites. And state finance law says that we have to spend that money on land that we own. And so that's what Parks is doing, is we're improving the historic sites across our state. The messaging, you'll see in a little bit, like how we're trying to get a lot of the information out there digitally. And state education did a great job of using part of their funding to get it out to the tourism promotion agencies in every county. New York State Parks, we manage 44 sites that are related to the Revolutionary War. We kind of consider ourselves the first stewards of New York State Rev War history. Washington headquarters was the first publicly owned historic site in the nation. So we've been doing this for over 100 years. We continue to position New York State's historic sites at the front door of the 250th commemoration by activating historic sites, public lands, and strategic partnerships to tell the full and nuanced history of the American Revolution. But we don't want to just tell the story of, no offense to anyone in the room, but the white soldiers in 1776. We want to make sure to use this to call it the unfinished revolution, because New York is the home of so many revolutions for civil rights, women's rights, labor rights, LGBTQ rights. So the unfinished revolution is a specific mandate that created our 250th commission. It means that places like Fort Ticonderoga, the National Abolition Hall of Fame in Peterborough, Women's Rights National Historic Park in Seneca Falls, and the Stonewall State and National Historic Site in Greenwich Village. Let me just stop there. The park staff always get concerned when I go off script. But yesterday, President Trump told the National Park Service to take down the pride flag at Stonewall National Monument. And I get choked up because the reason it's a national monument is to recognize the history of the LGBTQ plus community. And so Governor Hochul, Attorney General James, and now my little voice is saying, God damn it, National Park Service, put that flag back up at Stonewall. Thank you. Here in New York, we're recognizing those histories, and we're talking about those histories because all of us have a role moving forward. So for those of you attending today, you guys know more intimately New York's role in the American Revolution. Yes, there we go. Got to move my slides. Our history here in New York is extensive and extends over multiple years. Well, 2026 is the focus for the nation. Our commission was mandated to continue on until 2032. So we have 8 years that we're going to be commemorating the Revolution War. And we have a couple of our commissioners here today, Laura Roberts and Dr. Georgette Greer. So you're well represented on that commission. We've already been doing a number of events to start 2026. You're going to hear from Lauren about Henry Knox's extraordinary logistics to move the cannons from Lake Champlain to Boston. There are many more events as well, and we need your help because we're trying to upload all the events and all the sites and all the commemorations on the Path Through History, which is done with I Love New York, our colleagues at Empire State Development. So if you know of a local history society, a county history society, we're really trying to have that Path Through History be the one-stop shop so that your clients can go on there and find out what's happening all over the state. So this is the calendar we're sending everybody to. We also want to bring this story to everyone everywhere. So New York State Parks has developed kiosks in place at our Rev War historic sites and is now being coded for use online. We've got over 1,000 pages of text and more than 30 video shorts. And this content dives into previously unknown stories with larger chronological and thematic narratives and shares the full and complex lives of all people in the 1700s. We also want to bring pop-up exhibits across the state. There's one if you have time and you want to go over to the Empire State Plaza Concourse. We're talking about enslaved and free blacks in the Revolution, and we'll have these pop-up exhibits to share across our park system and on loan to libraries and municipalities. Our agency is also developing materials that will feature the diversity of Rev War sites across the New York State Park System. Our primary goal is to reach traditional and new visitors alike and reinforce that New York State parks and historic sites are central hubs where we can direct visitors to other regional sites to continue learning the story. The emphasis will be on utilizing digital, on-state, and earned media amplification for investments in and around the programming at those sites. So to date, New York has committed more funding than any other state towards preparing the commemoration of the 250th. And the Environmental Protection Fund, which the governor has proposed funding at $425 million, is a source of an annual grant program in park development, historic preservation, and inherited area system. That, for those of you that are interested in applying for grants like that, announcement usually comes out. Let's see, they're due in July. I think we make the announcements like in May. You apply in July and you find out in December if you got the funding. And because New York's history in the Revolution really starts, and it started in 1776, but it's more prominent in 27 and beyond, it's a good opportunity to apply for funding. That's open for municipalities, counties, not-for-profits, historic societies. I wanted to let everybody know that we have a couple more 250th commission meetings this year. We're meeting March 18th in Nassau County. There you go, Georgette. Georgette's hosting us. And the really interesting one is Devin had a great idea for our commission members. We're going to be meeting in June with the New York State History Conference at Marist College in Poughkeepsie. So that'll be a real collaboration event there. I also want to thank, here I am, I've only been on the job 5 months taking credit for all this work, but if you work for the Office of Park Recreation and Historic Preservation, please raise your hand, and I want to give you guys a round of applause. So Daniel and Dan and Cordell and Matt, there's a lot of people in the room, but they've been working for years on this effort. And I'm just so honored to be leading state parks and historic sites during this historic year and really riding on the coattails of the work that everyone's done. And thank you for the tourism industry for allowing us to be here. We really, really need your help in getting the word out, getting people to our parks and historic sites. Tourism is vital to the health of our communities, and we know that every dollar invested in parks means $9 of economic impact to that community. So that's why Governor Hochul is so interested in investing and improving our facilities for the visitor experience. I also want to thank Bob Provost, your president and CEO. he probably loves history as much as he loves tourism, and it's great to have this meeting here today focused on the 250th. Thanks to the members of the 250th Commemorative Commission, and it's really great to be with you all here today. So thank you very much for all you're doing to get people out to our parks and historic sites.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. So next up, I'd like to introduce one of the real champions in our state for not only history, but specifically the 250th. Lauren Roberts is the Saratoga County historian. She's also the chair of the Saratoga County 250th. She's also a commissioner on the New York State 250th Commission. She's also a committee member that helps put these summits together and hosted the first one in Saratoga. I don't know how many years ago that was, a couple years ago. Lauren is, as I said, been a champion of the 250th and is doing great work in Saratoga County, but also helping really move the state commission in a direction that is hopefully going to enable the entire state to commemorate this. So, and she's going to be talking about the Knox Trail, which most of us are aware of, but she's going to give us a summary of the project. So thank you, Lauren.
Right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for being here, and just echoing thanks so much to Bob Provost and to Devin for making this happen. And I don't see Brooke here, but Brooke with NISTIA is also awesome with all the logistics. So thanks again for making this happen. So I'm sure all of you have heard about the Knox Trail. Rather than talk about what we did, I would like to just give the executive summary of how we did it, in the anticipation that some of you may want to do something similar in the upcoming years. The commemorative period is not over until 2033, so we've got time. So I'm just going to try to give some tips very quickly about how we did, as part of a big team, what we did. We have 7 counties in New York State that the Knox Trail went through. We started planning about 18 months in advance. We started at the county level, really trying to involve a committee that had the leaders at the county level as a part of it. And many of these county leaders, whether it's part of a historical society, the county historian, 250th Commission, they all have their own events that they want to focus on for their counties. We all have diverse communities that want to be able to highlight their own attributes. That was great. The one thing that we wanted to do was find a way to connect. And so we came up, and very appropriate in Olympic season here, we're like, we need an Olympic torch. We're going from, up in Essex County all the way to Columbia. We need an Olympic torch to connect all of our communities. So we came up with the idea. The original idea was a worm, which is what you use to clean the cannon. And then someone else on our commission was like, well, the linstock actually lights it. It's more like a torch. So we came up with the idea of the linstock. And a late addition, as you can see, Jack up here has the linstock. This went from Essex County all the way to Columbia County. It's on its way across Massachusetts right now. A late addition was the idea of these streamers that we put on. As it moved through each county in New York, we added the streamer with the county name on it so you could see how far it had come. Community partners, key. There's so many people that want to be a part of this commemoration. It's not just people in the history field. How can we make people engage and feel like they're a part of it? Not just going to a one-off event, but being a part of it. So some of the things we did, number one, getting students involved. Yes. Get them involved, figure out a way to make them do it. We needed sleds. These guys had skills. These are our BOCES students from WS, WHE BOCES, a lot of counties in the area. Both the conservation students that actually cut down the lumber and milled it, and then the construction students who built the sleds. Once we had the sleds, we needed someone to pull it. So our local Washington County Draft Animal Association wanted to be involved, right? This is their legacy. They spend all of their time with draft animals, and they were wonderful. So we got them on board to make sure we had the right towing mechanisms for the sleds. We worked with a local graphic artist to come up with a graphic novel about Knox. We had the DAR and the SAR. The DAR came up with these ways to mark all of the Knox Trail markers that were from the 150th. We worked with Stewart's. Everybody loves Stewart's ice cream, right? Even when it's 20 below in upstate New York, we eat Stewart's ice cream. We worked with them to name one of the flavors, and we made a social media contest. We had lots of different ideas, and people voted, and that's what the people picked, so that's what we went with. We worked with our libraries. They came up with the Henry Knox Trail Challenge. There were 9 libraries that were very close to Knox historic markers. And so you could go, it was a reading challenge over the summer, and that went really well for them. So partners are great. We also came up with a Knox board game that was really popular with a historic map. It's kind of like my volunteer, Sue Thompson, created it. It's kind of like the Oregon Trail for you 90s kids. The Oregon Trail meets Candyland, and it was a huge hit at the fairs, at the county fairs, and all the other places we took it. We took the sleds on a tour. They went to 3 county fairs. They went to Schuyler Mansion. They went to Saratoga Performing Arts Center. They were all over, and this was all during nice weather when people like to be outside, not in December when it's freezing. So people were really interested in the sleds. We had banners that talked about how they did it, why they did it, and this was really popular, and we're glad that we took them on tour. Prep before your event. Definitely, we want to keep momentum going before the actual day of your event or days of your event. We had help from I Love New York. We went to our local media outlets. We partnered with state parks to have a press event at People's Island before the big weekend. So there were several counties that worked together over one weekend to hold all sorts of events. And so before that weekend, we had a press event at People's Island that state parks hosted. And we brought in horses and the sled and invited the public outside. So we had the talking heads inside talking about what was going on. And then outside, the public could come and get a sneak peek about what it would look like to have the horses pulling one of the sleds. It went really well. We got a lot of press coverage, both TV and print. We marked all of the Knox markers. Warren and Washington County had a great idea to use these lawn signs with a QR code on them because there were so many events going on. It's hard to say, people would call, what's going on? Well, it's about 7 pages long. So if you just hit the QR code and then you can choose which events you wanted to go to. So we marked all of those. The DAR, shout out to Heather Mabey, who is amazing. She's on our Saratoga 250 Commission. She made sure that every Henry Knox marker in New York State was marked with a wreath. So including those other groups, bringing attention, moving forward. And then the event comes, and you just ride that wave and hold on. I would recommend hiring a good photographer. It is very unlikely that you yourselves as the planners will be able to enjoy a single second of the event because you'll be dealing with overflowing garbage or helping parking or looking for a lost toddler. Those are the things that we do as the planners, but there's a lot of things you can't control, like Mother Nature. She can really be fickle. And, we had 6 inches of snow 2 days before the big events. We had to plow and snow blow, and it was, and then, she gave us a little reprieve with this beautiful flurrying snow, and we wouldn't have been able to capture it without, and we had a couple different photographers. Many of the different events had their own photographers. We did have a videographer as well, but now we can go back and look at these great photographs and video, and then you can go on to use them to post afterwards about what you did do for the people that missed it. And you can continue to use them as education resources also. Things will go wrong. They will. You'll look like that. Yes, the bolts are too wide for the hole that's drilled in the sled, or they're too short. And I will be wandering around Home Depot at 10 o'clock at night, having no idea what these things look like. Thankfully, I have a husband who talked me off the cliff, and I just bought everything, and he was laying on the frozen ground at 6 a.m. before the Fort Edward Parade, trying to make sure that this could go on. And you may have an 18th century chamber music group who is wonderful, and you wake up the morning of the concert and the soprano has strep throat. It will happen, and luckily we had musicians that could pivot on a dime. And perhaps your teenage son might be a part of that group reading it, and you may tell him too many times to go over those lines, and you get a face like that. The horses got a little bit too close to the bridge abutment and snapped the pole in the middle of the procession. And you rely on strangers, a gentleman who lived along the Champlain Canal towpath that came out with bolts and screwed it back together for us so that we could keep going. You may have slippery, icy surfaces that horses without shoes on can't make it up while they're pulling a 1,000-pound sled. And then you ask your loyal, friendly reenactors with slippery 18th century replica shoes on to be the horses and pull that sled so we can keep going to Albany County. It will all happen. You will all get through it. How to measure success. You can see here our media analytics. We had tons of media impressions, engagements. You can see the numbers of many of the attendants. That's not total, that's what I have right now. Print media, television coverage. We were very happy. We had our biggest day, December 13th. You're talking 2 Saturdays before a major holiday, and 1,500 people came out in the cold. It never got out of the 20s that day. They bundled up, they came out, they wanted to be a part of history. And Devin is going to run me over, but just so you go, we had a great border crossing event, New York, Massachusetts. Mother Nature threw us for a loop again there. Very icy, bad parking. We said, people, please don't come to this event. There were other events in Hillsdale and Great Barrington. They still came. They didn't listen. They found ways to park. Thank goodness for the local sheriffs and the Massachusetts State Police that were very helpful with that. Everybody showed up. We had our Secretary of State, Walter Mosley, hand off to State Senator Paul Mark from Massachusetts. The Linstock is theirs. It was a great event. Kathy was there. Several other people were there. Devin was there. Daniel was there. It was great. And I was super happy to hand this off to Massachusetts at the board. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Lauren. Great event, a great series of events. Moving right along, I would like to introduce my boss, our chief curator of history here at the New York State Museum, Dr. Jennifer Lemack, who is going to present about our upcoming 250th exhibit.
Thank you, Devin, and thank you, Lauren. I think one of the most exciting things about New York State is that we have so much enthusiasm at the local level, especially with our local government historians. So kudos to you. So I'm here to talk about our exhibition that is opening on July 1st in South Hall. It's the biggest gallery here at 7,000 square feet, and it is a monster. So on the 250th anniversary of our nation, this exhibition will honor the New Yorkers who launched the Great American Experiment in 1776 and the bold leaders through social revolution who have fought to make its promises real. So we are currently in the design stage, so I thought I would give you some of our design renderings. Our opening artifact is a suffrage wagon, and we went back and forth about what is the one artifact in our collection that will really kind of encapsulate the themes of our exhibition. And we settled on the suffrage wagon because it connects the ideals of the revolution to the later struggles to expand those promises. And this suffrage wagon was a horse-drawn wagon, and it was used as a prop and a speaker's platform, and was said by the suffragists to date to 1776. It wasn't. But they painted on the side of it the spirit of 1776. And in 1913, Edna Kearns and Irene Davidson drove this wagon from Long Island to New York City to be in a parade. So we thought that this kind of encapsulated everything we wanted to talk about. So the first exhibition, and this is kind of the view that you see right when you walk past that wagon into the galleries. You enter the first section, which is the power of place, and this kind of sets the stage for what is going to play out in American history. It discusses the area now known as New York State, and it was originally home to indigenous communities, including the Haudenosaunee and the Mohawk people. The next three sections include Rumblings of Revolution, Choose Your Side. The American Revolution is considered by some the first Civil War. Choosing sides was often a complex series of decisions based on circumstances, geographic borders, and many other factors. Men, women, soldiers, civilians, enslaved Africans, free blacks, indigenous peoples, and others were all affected by the revolution and had to balance the social, economic, and political changes wrought by war. The next section is Battleground New York. Nearly 1/3 of the engagements fought during the war took place in what is today New York State, from the capture of Fort Ticonderoga in 1775 to the Battle of Oriskany in 1777, and the Battle of Newtown and the Sullivan Campaign in 1779. These key events in New York shaped the outcome of the Revolutionary War. These three sections surround the largest artifact in the exhibition, which is a gunboat, which you can see there. And here's another image of it. There we go. The gunboat is among the few American-built Revolutionary War era ships that are known to remain. Evidence suggests it was built in 1775 and captured by the British when Philadelphia fell in 1777. The ship was abandoned on the shore of the Hudson River by the early 1790s, and it was subsequently buried under 22 feet of soil and debris used to extend the boundaries of New York City. The ship was found in 2010 during the construction at the World Trade Center site, and the timbers went to Texas A&M University for conservation before coming back to the New York State Museum this past summer. The ship was 50 feet long by 18 feet wide, and a 30-foot portion of it, which the rear of the ship will be exhibited in the exhibition. And you can see the ship at the World Trade Center site and the ship being reconstructed this past summer. Another highlight in the exhibition will be this is one of my favorite stories. In 1780, West Point was a vital stronghold protecting the Hudson River, and George Washington placed it under Major General Benedict Arnold. Resentful over a lack of a promotion, Arnold secretly arranged with the British Major John Andre to surrender the post. The scheme collapsed on September 23rd, 1780, when Andre was captured carrying hidden plans for the fortifications. He was arrested by 3 New York militiamen, and Andre was convicted as a spy and executed in October 1780. So what we have here are some of the plans for those West Point fortifications that were found in Major Andre's boot, and they are actually upstairs in the State Archives collection. So they will be on display, which I think is such a great story. Additionally, we have the Fidelity Medallions, which is the first military medal authorized and presented by the Continental Congress. This one was given to one of Andre's captors, Isaac Van Voort, and it is in the museum's collection. And then finally, down in the bottom corner, we have iron chains. A lot of folks have iron chains. But but these were used to construct the chain boom across the Hudson River at West Point to prevent the British ships sailing north. These chains are 2 feet in length and weigh up to 180 pounds each. Having to help move them, I can attest they weigh 180 pounds each. So we do have some exciting artifacts that we are using in the exhibition. I believe that is one of those Knox sleds that Lauren was just talking about will be in the exhibition. The next section is Founding the Nation, which covers the role New Yorkers played in the creation of our newly formed government, whether it was Federalist like Alexander Hamilton or anti-Federalist Governor George Clinton. We cover all of that. We also talk about Indigenous treaty making in one of the sections. We've worked with a Indigenous Advisory Council on the different Indigenous history sections. Founding of the Nation. And then my favorite section is We the People. The final section kind of discusses that the new nation and its constitution at first only protected wealthy white men. Women, enslaved people, indigenous people, and the poor were not allowed to vote or otherwise take part in the democratic experience. New York itself remained a slave state until 1827. However, the fact that the Constitution itself could be amended has led to positive change. So this last section talks about the different kind of battleground struggles over freedom and equality across New York State. So we focus on the continuing revolutions in New York State, and we specifically picked ones where New York set national precedents, including abolition and civil rights, the women's suffrage movement, the labor movement, the environmental movement, and the LGBTQ plus movements. And artifacts for this section include a suffrage banner from Orange County, the sword in the middle. This is another really great story. This is George Washington's dress sword, which is in the New York State Library's collection. And he gave that sword to his nephew, who lived in Virginia. When John Brown and his raiders broke into George Washington's nephew's home and stole the sword, and John Brown used it for his raid on Harper's Ferry. We have an Adirondack sign, we have a fag bug, and a sewing machine from the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire, which was collected as evidence, and a Klan hood from Greene County. There's a rendering of that. And additionally, I would like to let you all know that we do plan on having a free downloadable panel exhibition that will be available to download, print, and mount at your own place. That will be available on the museum's website and through the Office of State History starting on April 1st. And finally, I know the commissioner mentioned the Path Through History website for your events, but I would also like to put in a plug for the Office of State History's website through Devin. He has a monthly newsletter that goes out, and it reaches folks across the state. It's up to thousands at this point. So if you have events that you need us to amplify, please let Devin know, and we would be happy to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Lots going on here with the exhibit, obviously supported by the New York State 250th Commission. And speaking of which, next up is one of our commissioners from Long Island who traveled up this morning and may have traveled the farthest distance. We'll see. I'd like to introduce Dr. Georgette Guerrier, who is the Executive Director and Curator of the Eastville Community Historical Society. Will give us a presentation from Long Island.
Oh, I have some postcard. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I didn't realize these lights were so bright. So I'm happy to be here and representing Long Island. I am excited about the work that we have been doing on Long Island. Like many others, I've been a part of this planning since 2018 with Devin. Thank you to Bob Provost at Tourism and State Parks and all that have been doing this wonderful work to bring us where we are here today. It's actually happening. When we first started talking about this, everyone was like, oh, it's 7 years. Then it was like, oh, it's 5 years. And we're here now. So it's been a long time coming. So my presentation had some moving parts, but time doesn't allow for me to go through it. So basically, when you think about Suffolk County, in itself, we have 10 towns, but I can't even tell you how many little municipalities within the 10 towns that we have. So bringing everybody together, we relied on our town historians, and we relied on Kristen McKay to organize us as the Long Island 250th Commission. So it's been a pleasure working along with my colleague, Barbara Russell, who's the town of Brookhaven historian, also a New York State Commission along with myself. We have the pleasure of having a county executive who was a social studies teacher, so he's a history buff and he's been all on this, Ed Romaine, so we are so thankful for him. And as you can see, we have 200 committee members at the local level, and we also representing 1.5 million residents in Suffolk County. The county also is in our book that I have here. I'll pass it around, but I want to make sure that I get it back, so follow it down the road. We are doing a passport project. So in this book, we have not just the partners, community partners of local historical societies and historic sites, but we also have the Parks Department, and we have a few of Nassau County sites. So who wants to be the first to come get the book so you can look at it? All right, so we had a kickoff, and so this kickoff was very festive. As you can see, we had George Washington was present, we had Thomas Jefferson present, and we also had Benjamin Franklin present at our event. And it was at the Saga Coast Manor, which was very festive. We had things from clam chowder, we had apple pie, you name it, cooking on the hearth. So it was just an imagine, these are the three here, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, and Ben Franklin. And then, of course, we had the reenactors that were there, very festive, bringing together over 200 partners, because again, as Lauren said, when the actual events are happening, we're not going to be able to enjoy each other's events. So we thought, let's get together, do a kickoff, and talk about the work that we are doing. And so this was all of us with the elected officials, as well as the sheriff, which is one of the oldest sheriff departments in the state of New York. So he was happy to be there and celebrate with us. And so it's been multiple partners coming together on a regular basis, weekly, meeting in person, and then some virtual, to come up with the ideas of what we're doing. So we go from Oyster Bay, a site of significance for the Revolution, to Port Jefferson, Setauket area, which is a site of significance, to Sag Harbor, which is another site of significance, and then places like the William Floyd Estate, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, and also the Manor of St. George, where Talmadge had a surprise attack on the British held fort at that time. So we have a lot of sites on Long Island that are significant to the Revolutionary War, as well as the unfinished revolution that we want to uplift as well. We have the Shinnecock Nation in our territory, where they have never been removed from their ancestral land, as well as the Puspatuck. So we really want to uplift their stories, women's stories, enslaved and also free, as well as the LGBTQ. So many of the programs in the book you will see have that. I got 30 minutes, so Devin has postcards, so you can get the app and look at everything that we're doing. This is the book. It's a lot of over 108 sites there that they will go across Long Island and get their stamped. These books will be at libraries. It's also on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. We do offer a free downloadable, but if you want the book, you are welcome to purchase that book. One of the things I'll highlight here, some of the things that we're doing, we are going to have a Long Island Ducks game, and the first 500 people will get a free book on July 4th. We'll have plenty other things from maritime celebrations to exhibitions to a concert. And again, all of this information could be downloaded from our postcard. Thank you so much. That's my time, guys.
Thank you, Georgette. Lots going on in Suffolk County, as there are around the state. Next up, I'd like to introduce Ellen McHale from the New York Folklore Society. She is the executive director, to give us an update about what her organization is working on. So welcome, Ellen.
So hi, I'm really pleased to be here today, and the project I'm going to talk about is ongoing. It hasn't been finished yet, and it's actually, this is the first time it's kind of seen the light of day, so you guys have a first look at it. So the project is called Along the River. It's a placemaking project to connect residents and visitors to New York's waterways and watersheds through place names and indigenous cultural heritage in a manner that is replicable across New York State. Using the lens of collected narratives and indigenous community histories, Along the River provides alternative cultural and social histories of New York State, providing a more equitable lens through which to portray significant indigenous sites within the watersheds of New York. And we're New York Folklore. We're a statewide organization. We were formed in 1944 as an offshoot of the New York History Association. And we are headquartered in Schenectady, and we serve the entire state. I thought I should say what folk and traditional arts are, because I often get the question, well, you're all about storytelling, right? And we are certainly storytelling, and narrative is part of our mission, but we work with all communities in the state, helping to amplify and support the traditional arts and culture that is coming